doing this for the 25th anniversary. And you were all part of certainly the good old early days of that whole thing. And just to get a little background, Tracy, so thank you. This is Tracy Bogdan for the camera. But you were a Benson in a prior life. Tell me a little bit about your mom and dad.
So yes, I was a Benson. My parents are Barry and Shirley Benson. My dad is still living, 92 years young, going strong. He was a banker for many years here in Jamestown, retired from the banking industry, and then managed the local AAA office here for many years. Upon his retirement, he came out of retirement and helped them out and ended up having a great second career there. Both originally from Jamestown. My mom, Shirley, she in her early days worked for the bank, the same bank as my dad. That's how they met, and ended up married. And I have a sister, and it's just the two sisters were quite close. And my mom, after her banking days, did a few other things, and then after having children, decided to stay home and was a homemaker for many, many years.
And just for the record, your sister's name is?
My sister is Christy Benson Zabrodsky, and she lives in town. And strangely enough, I live just down the street from where I grew up. My sister lives in my backyard. So we're all quite close. Yeah, I know. I actually have a cousin that lives around the corner and an aunt and uncle that live around the corner. So my husband jokes and calls it the compound.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, the two of you have always been impact people in the community. And tell me a little bit about your career, your life arc. You went to Jamestown High School?
I did. I went to Jamestown High School, graduated in 1981, went to JCC for 2 years, and then after that transferred to Miami University. And for my last 2 years was a marketing major there. Came back to Jamestown after graduation and worked for Pepsi Cola, which was then Supreme Beverages, owned by Steve Hagelin and Bruce Stromgren. I was their PR, marketing, advertising person for 8 years, I would say, and had a great career there. Many wonderful people. They were so active in the community, did so many wonderful things and sponsored things. So had a great experience there. Had my children and decided to stay home for a time while my children were growing up, and then ended up working at the Jackson Center.
Before we get to the Jackson Center, at Supreme Beverages, we did, our law firm did a lot of work with Steve and Bruce.
Yes.
And that's where our paths would have probably initially crossed.
Right.
And so what did Steve more specifically have you do? Because you were the face of Pepsi.
I was. Well, my mentor was Larry Sandberg, who was just an icon at Supreme Beverages, and he was the sales manager, and I think at the time he was wearing many, many hats, and I was brought on to kind of help Larry and take some of the responsibilities that he was, just overextended with. So I was involved with anything that Pepsi did sponsorship-wise, from the Labor Day Festival to Soapbox Derby, so many things. I would be the point person. I would be the person that went out in the community and was responsible for initiating and following through on all of those particular things. Met so many great people along the way. Jamestown's just a great community, and so many people that just take the ball and run with it and invent things. I think of Tony Purpura with the Soapbox Derby, and had a passion for it, and on his own started it. And I mean, just really great people I met along the way.
But most people had to get through you to get to Steve.
That's probably true. That's probably true. And yeah, Steve, great bosses, Steve and Bruce both. Yeah.
But it seemed like Steve probably was more the community connect. Bruce was kind of as they divided their opportunities there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I would agree, and both very committed to the community. Both owners just felt the importance of giving back, and boy, they really did.
Do you get a sense? I mean, obviously there's a marketing component for their own businesses, and they were competing at the time with Coca-Cola, as
Sure.
Pepsi always does.
Sure.
And did you see that marketing, community marketing, resulted in business?
Yes,
development?
no doubt about it. I would say that when I was at Supreme Beverages, people, we really had the lion's share of the market locally, and I really do attribute that to their visibility in the community. The things that they did and the exposure that Pepsi got, and I think that definitely translated into market share and sales.
Well, it was clear to most that Coke almost became a non-entity. Hard to believe in our community. It was Pepsi.
It really was.
Tracy, and occasionally Steve, but Tracy there.
Well, and a lot of Larry too. Larry was instrumental in a lot of that.
Yeah, but you were carrying a heavy load. So, congratulations to you. And as time goes on, probably most people don't. They appreciate Pepsi generally, what they did. And certainly now, no disrespect, but once Steve sold, and they Pepsi bought it back.
Right.
Were you there when that happened?
I was. So I would say the last 2 years of my career there were with Pepsi-Cola Company, and real difference. I mean, they still were at that point in a transition. They still were involved in doing some things, but not at the same level. It just wasn't the same. And that happens when you end up with a corporate entity sometimes in a smaller town. It's just different.
Okay, cool. So then you become a housewife, the kids grow up, and
right.
you have, how many children do you have?
I have 2 children. My husband Ted and I have a son, Will. He is 32 years old. Hard to believe. And I am a grandmother. And they're expecting another child, so another grandson coming in December. And then we have a daughter, Becca, and she is 28, and she is currently back in school, getting her master's in teaching.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
And at some point, they kind of probably get to the point where they don't need mom as much at home, and
right.
You decide to go back into the workplace. I can't even forget. What was the connect? How did you get reeled back in?
Randy Sweeney.
Ah.
So I can't remember at the time. I believe Becky Robbins was leaving or had left or was in the process. And I believe Randy, and I remember Jeanette Cardinelli as well. Yep. I remember meeting with them, and I can't remember who all, but Randy had initially called me and said, would you be interested in this? And at the time I don't know, I just didn't maybe have the confidence perhaps that I could enter the workforce again and be effective. So I remember Randy kind of twisting my arm, and I met with all of you folks, and I had a great feeling about it and decided, let's give it a try.
So first of all, what was the role that they wanted you to play?
So the role was development because Becky had left and she was their development director. So that was the role that I was asked to step into, and really had no experience in the development. My experience had really all been in marketing, sales, PR, that sort of thing. So, but there were certainly crossovers that
Sure.
Between the two roles that worked.
What was the staff at the time?
So when I first got there, Carol Drake was the stalwart in the office, and highly efficient and a great lady. Really enjoyed Carol. Don Greenhouse was the interim executive director at the time, and he was there. I can't remember, but it wasn't a terribly long period of time. But Don was there, and then when Don left, there was, I think, a period of time that a search was happening, and then Adam Bratton was hired.
Okay.
So it was Carol, myself, and Adam. Really, I think at the time we're probably the 3 staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you know anything about the Jackson Center before Randy reeled you in?
I wouldn't say I was very well educated about the Jackson Center, but I certainly knew a little bit about it, enough to be dangerous, as my dad would like to say. But no, I was not. I knew who Robert Jackson was, but I certainly learned a lot through my tenure there. I mean, I commend you and the other founders. It's just an amazing institution, and really a gem in this city that if people take advantage of it, there's just so much there to learn, and so many people that you've brought in over the years that are true, scholars, and just, a wealth of information.
So this would have been about I'm trying to think time-wise, 2006?
Yeah, probably I was thinking about that earlier. Yeah, it was probably 2006. And I remember being there through, my son graduated from high school in 2011. And I think I was there, if not right through then, about that period of time. Because I remember my kids both being very interested in the Jackson Center. And I remember them taking advantage of programming. And that was kind of fun for me to, not only work there, but have my kids really interested in some of the programming that was happening there. So I remember my kids, so they were definitely high school, middle school ages. So yeah, it had to have been around that time period.
Because that was sort of a growth, a lot of it's always been sort of upward mobility, but a growth spurt because we instituted, I believe, the essay contest and the Young Readers Contest.
Right.
And Jerry Spinelli and people like that.
Right.
It was sort of started around that time period.
Right. I remember when I was there, I remember Hannah's Suitcase was the book with Karen Levine, I believe was her name. And I remember my daughter, she's still got her autographed copy. And I remember Gail Jarrow had written the Robert Jackson young adult book. And I remember, her being there and signing books and speaking. That was an exciting, book when that came out. I mean, I remember that was a big deal.
That was a big deal, and ultimately something to the tune of like 10,000 of those books got circulated through the Jackson Center.
Yeah, I remember you had many boxes of books that needed to get moved around many times.
Well, we got sponsors.
Yes.
Man, that was a fun thing.
Yes.
I hadn't thought about it in a while, but Gail came here a few times.
She did, yeah.
And we subsequently, through I think we had an education committee, just for the camera, kind of a fun thing, where we got the books. We first got the books, I was very excited, because there was no books.
Right.
Nothing on Jackson,
right.
Zero. And through Highlights magazine, a guy named Brown, led to him being interested in maybe doing a book on Jackson. He in turn got Gail Jarrow involved. Gail came and did a lot of research on us, which ultimately led in a book. I go, my gosh. And then at one of the education committees, sorry, I'm talking and you're not.
That's quite all right.
But it's a memory. Our education committee headed by Tom Buffamonte's wife.
Yes, Kay.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I was also Anita
Sanctuary
was very involved. Yeah. Anita Sanctuary, yeah.
So Kay, I give her full credit for this. We were at a meeting, it's kind of like this, and I'm sure you were there. Had the idea, we got the books, why don't we send 2 copies to each member of the Supreme Court?
Yes, I do remember that.
And I'm a P.T. Barnum guy, and I said, oh, it ain't going to work. Who's going to sign somebody else's book? Not going to happen. But, what the hell?
Yeah.
And you probably stuffed all the books, and you and Carol, and out of the 9 justices, 8 sent them back, signed.
Yes.
And they're there.
It's amazing. Yeah. Well, speaking of the Supreme Court, I remember I was there when Sandra Day O'Connor came to visit.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
That was a thrill.
That was. It really was.
So, along those lines, were there other personalities during that time period, kind of a 2006, 2011 time period? Because we started other things, 2 other projects.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on. I guess one of the things that I remember most was that I believe was the start of the International Humanitarian Law Dialogues. Yes. So I mean, that is vivid in my memory. So many, David Crane, I think, was kind of the spearhead behind that, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And I just remember being kind of awed by who all came and the discussion, and it was held at Chautauqua right after the end of the Chautauqua season, and that was remarkable.
And a little bit of a helter-skelter.
Yeah. Well, I remember Carol having an enormous spreadsheet of all of the people that were coming and having to coordinate getting them to the airport, from the airport, coordinating volunteers to drive them. And I just remember being in awe of Carol, that she managed that very well.
Another lady who helped at that time, and we really burned her out, and I hopefully what, Jackie Shannon, do you remember?
Yes, yeah.
She was kind of a radar. Carol's as a radar.
Right.
Radar was the MASH person who was.
Radar O'Reilly. Yeah.
It was quite remarkable those first years at the Chautauqua, and continues on.
Yeah. So I'm assuming it is no longer at Chautauqua, or is it?
Well, as of this past year, it was at the Jackson Center.
It was, okay.
But that was the first year. Ever since then, we've had them, except 1 year at Nuremberg.
Okay, right.
And did you ever go on one of those trips?
I did not.
Yeah.
No.
And so, Well, so what else? We got the Law Round Table.
The author series, like you said, Sandra Day O'Connor coming was huge. I can remember doing the Warren every year in Warren. There was a speaker that came and then in the summer also a Supreme Court speaker at Chautauqua. So many people, and names I'm not great with, but just so many people that were. Again, you were amazed that the connections were made, and they came to Jamestown, and they, were engaged at the Jackson Center. Was pretty remarkable.
And during that time period, did you get involved in developing brochures, marketing stuff? I know that's, again, we started with nothing.
Right.
Zero. And
it was definitely early on, and yes, there was definitely that. I think we had certainly a newsletter of some type back then, but yeah, we were definitely, all of that was in development at the time.
Were you part of we even had a bookstore there, Fran Galbato.
Right, I remember that. That was near the end of when I was there, but I remember it was in the vestibule, if I recall.
Yeah. People might not, because it's not there.
I was going to say it's not there any longer, but it was the old vestibule, and I do remember that, yeah. Fran Galbato. Wow, so many great docents. I mean, I think back to, and so many we've lost, like Jill Palmer, Ann Cole, Carol Volk. I mean, so many great, so many really devoted people that really enjoyed coming and being part of everything.
Remember Steve Massa?
Thank you. I was trying to remember his last name. Yes, I do. He was awesome.
Yeah, Steve from Warren.
Yep.
And for the camera, who might not remember, but Steve would come up from Warren, and he actually wrote a book on the perpetrators. Mm-hmm. In the basement, there's a lithograph set.
That was his forte. He enjoyed the pictures down there, and really knew his stuff.
I did an interview like this with Steve before he passed, and we were going to mic him up to do one last round where he was going to do the thing.
Right.
And he passed away.
Oh no.
Yeah. But I got his book. He actually published it, and it's limited edition, but we have it. But he was that passionate.
Yeah, he was.
He read and read and read. Mm-hmm. That's great memories, Tracy. You're really kicking in things.
Well, it's funny when I spoke with you, the wheels started turning, and it's funny you don't think of things or people in a long time, and all of a sudden the floodgates kind of start opening. And I would say that my time there was really, I enjoyed the people. Out of anything, the people I worked with, the people that were docents, that volunteered, that were on committees, I would say it was a really great group of people that were involved there.
Did you also have interaction with board members? Was that part of your job as well?
It was, I would say, in a more limited way. But yes, certainly had contact with board members, and I actually, it was funny. One of my old neighbors and one of my dear friends, Chris Olson, is one of your current board members.
Yes.
I grew up down the street from Chris Olson.
Oh, did you?
His sister Cindy was my best friend. His older sister Sharon was my sister's best friend, and Chris was always just the little tag along. That he was like the little brother, the annoying brother that was just always the tag along. And it's been fun to see him, and we keep in touch with all of them. And it's been fun to see how his career has grown and what he's done, and neat to see him on this local board. And he's a great guy.
And they just bought a place here up in Mayville.
I heard that. Yeah.
So you might see more.
Yeah. He's all over the place.
That he is. If you follow him on Facebook, he's all over the place. So you knew you were going to be brought in here today, and you came almost reluctantly. You said, "I don't know,
did.
Greg, it's going to take a while, but thank you for doing it."
Yeah.
But as this was happening, and you were coming in today, was there questions you thought I should be asking or would be asking you that I haven't yet?
No, I really just thought it would be a conversation. I know nothing. I mean, I thought this is exactly what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you kind of categorize your time there at the Jackson Center, because you were there during a really growth spurt. I mean, we had programs. We tried a lot of things.
Right.
And most everything stuck. Not everything.
Right.
I'd like to say that we talked among the staff members with you, Don,
right.
Carol, and Adam, and the board members, and but we tried a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure. Was there anything you remember that we didn't work?
Boy, that's a good question. I think at the time that I was there was maybe some of the things that didn't work had already been flushed out. I think that when I was there, I would term it more a time of building on what had already been successful, perhaps, and then, occasionally introducing something new. And I remember it also being a time that like the archives were really starting to, because up until then, the archive room finally had been built, and that whole space was becoming more utilized, and I believe at the time you had hired someone part-time.
Jen Champ. Oh
Yep.
My gosh.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a time of growth, I think, in different areas as well. It wasn't just the programming, perhaps. It was, I remember, it was a time when, and I believe it's still in the lobby, the Robert Jackson timeline.
Yes.
I remember that being, constructed, if that's the right term, during that period of time. I mean, I guess I don't remember anything that sticks out as having been unsuccessful.
Did we have the touchscreen TVs then? Remember that?
I do remember that. I remember the room off of, as you walked into the vestibule straight ahead, that had the old kind of TV in the wall. And you could play the Robbins room, and you could play various videos. I do remember that.
All on DVDs.
Yeah.
And Dale and Becky did a great job underwriting that, and it worked very well for a period of time.
Right.
We had like 100 kind of things you could plug the number in.
Right.
As technology would have it, whenever it didn't.
That's obsolete.
It became difficult to correct.
Right.
Oh my gosh, forgot about that.
Yeah.
And we had Bush Industries had a kiosks sort of things were screens, and I don't know if that was there when you were there.
That was not there. That was not there yet. I'm a dinosaur technologically, so that was after my time.
No, maybe before your time. I don't even remember. It's funny, over time that just sort of
I know
merged more so.
Well, 25 years is significant.
Well, you were part of all that growth.
Hard to believe. And
I'm always pleased and reflecting on the number of people who really devoted their times and talents, and nobody ever got wealthy off of that kind of quasi volunteer of a lot of time. And
Yeah, but I think people that came there and either volunteered or were employed weren't doing it for that purpose. They were doing it because they believed in it. They saw the vision. And enjoyed truly what was going on there. That's the bottom line. I mean, people were doing it because they were passionate about it.
And you've been passionate about a lot of things, and I thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're a great sport for doing this. Appreciate it.
Twisting my arm. I'm glad I came.
Thank you.
Okay.